Hello friends, and welcome to Sustainable Prepping, your home for fear-free emergency preparedness and a sustainable life. My name is Brecky, and today we are talking about, can you be a prepper and a feminist? If you're new here, I want to say a great big welcome. I'm glad you found this slice of the internet. If you're not new, I want to say a great big welcome back. I'm glad you're joining us yet again. Today I want to talk about that interesting intersection of whether or not you can be a prepper or someone in the emergency preparedness community and a feminist. I think that this is an interesting question because being a feminist is a little bit different than being a political liberal. You don't have to be a liberal to be a feminist, and you don't have to be a feminist to be a liberal, although they tend to go hand in hand. But I do think it's important when I'm speaking specifically to women or non-binary identifying individuals, can you be a feminist and a prepper? Because let's face it, they seem like opposed ideas. Feminism is this idea that women specifically, but more inclusively those who are non-binary, those who are trans, have not just human rights, but should have equitable access to power. And when we talk about power, what we really mean is options. Power ultimately is about having options, the option to work or stay home, the option to have children or not have children, the option to decide how many children you have, the option to work in some careers versus other careers, the options to work in high-powered, high-paying, intense jobs or not, the option to have skilled labor versus unskilled labor. All of these options, these life options, are a part of what feminism means. We want to have equitable access for women and other minority gender identifying individuals. This is all about power, it's all about options, and it's all about empowerment. And I think if we look at feminism from this perspective of empowerment and maintaining the most options for individuals, we get a better sense of how it can intersect with emergency preparedness. Here's the deal. If you've been in the emergency preparedness community for like 11 seconds, you'll notice that there is a lot of hyper-masculine machismo language and imagery to sell whatever kind of content the individual is selling. There's a lot of dudes in the emergency preparedness community, and there's a lot of really traditional views on gender and gender roles. So if you're a feminist that is non-traditional in your views of gender and gender roles, and you want to have women empowered and you want to include non-binary individuals, is there a space for you? The easy and simple answer is yes. There's a commenter who has been saying that emergency preparedness is for anybody with a heartbeat and a belly to fill, and I love that because it's true. If you are a person who prepares for emergencies, you are a prepper. So it doesn't really matter whatever your self-identification is. You have some food storage and some batteries and a flashlight, then you are a little bit prepared, you're a prepper, right? Like those things kind of just are. But if we're talking more culturally, is there a place in the emergency preparedness community for feminists? I would also answer yes. It's small, but it's growing and it's necessary. The idea of maintaining power, of maintaining options in a crisis is so important. Those that are most likely to lose power and to lose options are women and children. They're the most vulnerable. And so empowering you, having your preparedness in place allows you to maintain as much power, as many options as possible, no matter the circumstances you're facing. For example, if you have a robust food storage system in place, if you have to shelter at home during an emergency, you have more options with how to feed your family, what you have to do for resource gathering and management than someone who doesn't. They become reliant on handouts or hoping that the government or an NGO comes in to give them food and water. They have less options. They have to put themselves in more vulnerable situations. They potentially might have to do things they don't want to do in order to get food and water to survive. If you have the food and water, you have more options at your disposal. Likewise, if you have an evacuation plan in place and a specific location to which you are evacuating, right? A bug out bag, a bug out plan, a bug out location, if we're using prepper language, then you have more options. You're less likely to become a refugee. You're less likely to face refugee camp situations and scenarios that can make you vulnerable to people who have a lot more options available to them. The point here as a feminist, and I identify as a feminist, is empowering women and other minority gendered individuals to have as many options in the face of an emergency situation. You are empowering yourself. You're taking responsibility, you're looking at a broken system, you're doing as much as you can to prepare for the worst case scenario. Women and children are so often vulnerable and are so often facing awful options. The more options you can put in place, the more insulation you can have, the more power you can maintain, no matter what the situation is. I personally am very excited about the ways in which we can teach emergency preparedness as a tool of empowerment. It does not have to be a thing of fear-mongering. It does not have to be a space for machismo, look at my guns and bullets and whatever. It doesn't have to be that. It can absolutely be about empowering you and empowering others to have these plans, to have these stores, to have these skills in place so that no matter what the future brings, you have as many options, as much power as possible. There's a YouTuber who uses the phrase positions of strength, and while he and I disagree on a lot of philosophical things, I think that that phrase and that viewpoint actually is really wise. You want to have as much strength, as much power, as many options as possible. I believe that ultimately in an emergency situation, gender roles, particularly traditional divides between masculine and feminine, are not going to be that important. Everyone's going to be needed to respond to a disaster situation, and those with certain skills are going to gravitate to one particular area, and those with others will gravitate to another, and it's not necessarily going to be gendered. The point really is that as a feminist, you are all about options. We want to empower as many people as possible to have as many options as possible. We want equity, and we want that for everyone, right? Not just white women, not just straight individuals. We want every community to have as many options available as possible. If you have your house in order, if you have your food storage, your water storage, your first aid, your bug out bag and location, your evacuation plan, all of those sorts of things in place, you are more likely going to be able to maintain safety and security for you and yours, and support those who don't have the resources to prepare now. You can absolutely have plans in place for supporting the least of these in your community. This is all about self-initiated work, right? Self-reliance or self-sufficiency, as some of the terminology is. I don't think we're ever truly self-reliant, but if you start relying on yourself to respond to disasters, to respond to crisis, to be a leader, you don't then give up your power to others. You don't then give up your options to others. You can stand strong and firm in your convictions and in your power because you aren't relying on anyone else to come and save you. This is where I think feminism beautifully intersects with emergency preparedness, because we believe that women and minority gender identity folks can save themselves. So let's save ourselves. Let's work together as a community to be empowered when a crisis comes. Let's not allow only certain communities to be ready. Let's do as much as we can to make sure the whole community is ready for a future crisis. A future crisis is going to come, and your particular identity is not going to insulate you from what's happening. Instead of your gender identity making you more vulnerable in a situation, let's use it to empower ourselves. I do believe that feminism and emergency preparedness go hand in hand, and it is my hope in this space to encourage feminists to be prepared for emergencies. That is one of the reasons I started this channel, because I know that it was hard for me to listen to some of this hyper masculine, hyper gendered language when I was trying to learn all the ins and outs of emergency preparedness. It doesn't have to be that way. And so here I am on this channel teaching a empowered, feminist, progressive perspective on emergency preparedness, because not everybody wants a traditional view. If you do, there are great channels. You don't have to be here. But if you want a feminist take on emergency preparedness, if you want to see feminism in action, then you should stick around. I would love it if you liked this video to let me know that you want more of a feminist perspective on emergency preparedness. I would love it if you subscribe to this channel, and if you found this video valuable, share it on social media, send it to a friend, let them know that they can maintain their feminist values and they can have a robust emergency plan in place. I really do believe it's a form of empowerment. It's a tool for empowerment. Comment down below and let me know how your perspective on feminism intersects with emergency preparedness. What does it mean to have as much power or as many options available as possible? I'd love to see what that looks like for you in your context. Don't forget to find me on Instagram and join our group on Facebook. All of the information is linked down below. Until next time, happy prepping.